The world ended with explosions, zombies, monsters, ruins. Humanity became emergency rations overnight. Then there's Jiang Chen, a normal guy with the most broken ability ever. He can travel between two worlds. Modern society on one side, apocalyptic hellscape on the other. While everyone's dying over scraps, he's running a cross-dimensional black market empire, smuggling weapons, food, and tech into the apocalypse, bringing back gold, crystals, and power. Capitalism survived the end of the world. But surviving monsters? Easy. Surviving his women? That's the real challenge. Sun Jiao, a 6-foot goddess built like a weapon and thick in all the right places. She'll put him through a wall if he steps out of line. She's his bodyguard, his biggest threat, and his biggest weakness. And she's just the start of his harem. Powerful, deadly, drop-dead, gorgeous. These women don't fall for words, they fall for power and survival. Jiang Chen isn't here to save the world. He's here to own it. Welcome to I Have a Mansion in the Post-Apocalyptic World.
Jiang Chen decides the best way to explain how his life went completely off the rails is to start with the unlucky incident that caused it. The city is already in ruins. Explosions echo everywhere, and Jiang is tied to a chair bleeding from the nose while a woman with a gun stands over him, clearly enjoying the advantage. She asks his name. He says, Jiang Chen. She mocks it instantly, and before he can defend it, she lifts her leg and kicks him hard between the legs, making it very clear that introductions are optional, but pain is not. She interrogates him, demanding to know who he is and why she has never seen him in Wanhai City. Jiang says he came from the north, which only makes her more suspicious. She pulls out a can of cola and asks how he got it, then opens it herself and drinks it slowly right in front of him. Jiang explains that Coke is just a soft drink. She responds with another kick, reinforcing that bad answers have consequences. She presses the gun to his head and asks if he really thinks she's afraid of killing him. Jiang, already at rock bottom, asks if this is how she treats her savior. That line earns him a brief pause. She eases up slightly. Jiang says he comes from a more well-off place and suggests trading, using the cola as proof. Sun Jiao shuts it down, explaining that supermarkets and food stores have been cleared out and that his offer sounds unrealistic. Jiang insists he can provide food. She asks what kind. He tells her to check his pocket and pulls out a carrot. Sun Jiao freezes, staring at the fresh vegetable like it shouldn't exist anymore. She admits she hasn't eaten anything that fresh in a long time. Jiang says he has more, and the balance in the room quietly shifts. Jiang asks if she's willing to trade and realizes he doesn't know her name. She tells him it's Sun Jiao, then warns him that if this cooperation crosses any line or gets strange, she can end it whenever she wants. Sun Jiao asks what Jiang Chen is actually searching for. Jiang answers badly and accidentally makes it sound like he is looking for a slave. Sun immediately calls him out and Jiang panics, denying it and saying they do not need slaves, they need technology. She questions him and points to the laser gun in her hand and the computer device on her arm. Jiang explains that they have similar technology but cannot produce it themselves, which is why they came here to search for old technology. Sun accuses him of lying and presses him harder. Jiang admits they are behind in technology, especially in food production and resource management, and that this is one of the reasons he came. Sun dismisses his explanation and decides to talk about payment instead. Jiang freezes because he has no idea what currency is used in this world. Sun lists batteries, crystals, and food, then casually says she personally prefers food. She asks if he has any canned curry chicken, and then states that she already ate all of it. Jiang reacts in disbelief. Sun doesn't argue anymore and kicks Jiang straight in the family jewels, proving that pain is the fastest language in this world. Jiang immediately caves and shouts that he will pay 10 cans per month, with meals included. Sun agrees, calling it a deal. She unties him and tells him to hurry up. Jiang complains that his hands have gone numb from being tied for too long. Sun says that from now on she will keep him safe. Jiang replies that as long as he does not die by her hands, he is satisfied. Jiang asks if they should leave, but soon says there is no need and that this place will be their meeting point for now. Sun tells Jiang to look outside and explains that this is Wanhai City and that the current year is 2190. She points out that the streets are filled with zombies and strange mutated creatures and that there is wreckage everywhere. Jiang says that someone who graduated in 2017 should not exist here. Sun explains that he did not travel to. Jiang Chen says he never imagined he could acquire an ability like this, and explains that the story goes back several months. The scene shifts to June 2017. Jiang is shown talking on the phone with his mother, who asks how his work has been going. He replies that it is mediocre and admits he is out of money again. His mother scolds him, saying it has been almost a year since graduation and that he is still asking for money. She compares him to his cousins, who already have good jobs and stable incomes. His mother tells him to come back home and help on the farm, saying his father could use extra hands. Jiang reacts badly, snapping that he is not going to raise pigs for the rest of his life. He hangs up the call in frustration, muttering that she must have been a drill sergeant in a past life, alone. Jiang drinks beer on the rooftop, wondering how to fix his situation. He introduces himself saying his name is Jiang Chen and that he is 23 years old and admits he has been looking for a decent job for a year. While drinking, he notices a shooting star in the sky, remembering that people say wishes come true. He jokingly makes a wish for a good job and promises to work hard. The shooting star suddenly changes direction and starts flying straight toward him. Jiang realizes too late that it is not passing by. The light crashes into him, knocking him off his feet. He complains that he cannot catch a break as he is hit directly. After the accident, Jiang is shown lying injured and strange markings appear on his arm. He explains that because of this incident, he received an unimaginable ability. He discovers that absorbing around 100 kilowatts of electricity fills his body like a battery, meeting the conditions needed to traverse and allowing him to travel to another world. He also gains the ability to use an independent subspace, which he explains is essentially a storage space of about 1 cubic meter that he can freely use. Jiang Chen explains that 2 weeks after receiving the tattoo, he flies to the Amazon rainforest and activates his ability again. He says even the smallest action can heavily affect the future, and that nothing is ever certain. The first time he traverses, he lands inside an abandoned old house and crashes hard onto the floor. He looks around and notes that the place has clearly been abandoned for a long time. He finds an old newspaper and starts reading. The newspaper explains the history of this world, describing global warming, resource shortages, economic collapse, wars between major powers, nuclear conflict, radiation spreading, bacteria mutating and humans gradually turning into zombies. It states that many people tried to escape Earth, but that survivors are still struggling to live in a radioactive wasteland filled with zombies. Jiang realizes the current year is 2190 and that he is in Wanghai City, which looks completely different from his own city. He decides to first understand this world better, but is suddenly startled when he sees something outside the window. He panics, says it is too dangerous, and immediately returns home. Back in his own world, Jiang realizes he can only traverse once before the tattoo is drained. He decides to recharge first and plugs himself into an electrical outlet, absorbing electricity until he is fully charged again. He says he needs to go back because there could be valuable things there, but he also needs to prepare properly. Jiang goes shopping and buys canned ham, sardines, and instant noodles, saying it should last him about 3 days. He admits that even though he does not want to stay overnight, it is better to be prepared. He traverses again and sticks the landing this time. He notices how quiet the city is and realizes the zombies do not come out during the day. He decides to find a safe base first and spots a sturdy-looking building. He checks the doors, calls out to see if anyone is inside, and concludes no one has been there for a while. He decides it should be safe and goes in. Suddenly, something grabs his leg. Jiang panics, screams about ghosts, and attacks wildly before realizing he hears a human voice. A blonde woman is revealed on the floor, injured and weak. Jiang is briefly stunned by her appearance, then immediately tells himself to focus and save her. She asks for water. Jiang gives her water from the bottles he brought and helps her drink. She then says she is starving. Jiang pulls out canned food, telling her to eat first and not waste energy talking. He carefully feeds her, telling her to eat slowly and calm down. Jiang Chen thinks back on what happened next and admits that things did not go the way he imagined. He watches as the blonde woman regains consciousness and starts banging on the door, still able to move and clearly not completely out of it. Jiang thinks he got lucky that she still has some conscience, because if she were a cannibal or slave trader, he would already be dead. Sun asks how he plans to transport the supplies. Jiang casually says his partners have ways and tells her not to worry. While looking around, Jiang notices paintings and expensive-looking items but quickly realizes that even if they were valuable before, trading them for food now is unrealistic. Jiang starts examining the devices in the room, calling them high-tech by his world's standards. Sun explains that most electronic devices stop working after the nuclear explosion, but key components can still be dismantled and traded at survivor bases. Jiang realizes that since these devices existed before, someone must still know how to produce them. And if he trades food, there should be plenty of talented people willing to work for him. Sun tells him there is no point reinforcing the building because zombies are brainless and will not find their way inside as long as they keep quiet. She also mentions there are no powerful mutants in this area, so guarding the place is a waste of effort. Jiang says he is not guarding against zombies but against intruders and makes it clear he does not want his throat slit while sleeping. He decides they will stay in the city for a while and use this place as a supply point. Jiang asks if Sun has a map of the area, and then brings up payment, asking for her e-paid so he can send money directly. Sun looks at him like he is joking and asks if he seriously does not have one. Jiang awkwardly admits he can buy one. Sun hands him a device taken from a corpse, telling him to try it on. Jiang reacts nervously but puts it on anyway, and Sun comments that it fits well. The device scans Jiang and displays his stats, showing his physical condition, strength, reflexes, and that his radiation level is safe. Sun remarks that none of his abilities exceed 20 and questions whether he is really a man, clearly enjoying teasing him. She leans in and provocatively asks if he wants to try something, suggesting he should take the chance since she is right there. Jiang panics internally, thinking she is too dangerous and that enjoyable activities belong in the modern world, not here. He refuses, saying maybe next time. Sun laughs it off, saying there is no need to offend her meal ticket since she will never have to worry about going hungry again and even gets to eat good food. Sun comments that although Jiang seems like a nice guy, being nice is just a joke in this wasteland. She asks if she does not look attractive when she laughs and forces Jiang to answer yes or no. Jiang, flustered and blushing, struggles to respond as the tension between them stays awkwardly unresolved. Jiang Chen thinks this world is full of treasures, since even ordinary civilian equipment here can completely outclass technology from his own world. However, he admits it is impractical to directly bring these high-tech devices back and sell them. Sitting across from Sun Jiao, he says the real thing he wants from this place is gold. Sun questions why he wants gold, pointing out that in a post-apocalyptic world like this, gold should be worthless. Jiang explains that in a world where everyone is starving, no one would trade food for shiny objects, but in his world, gold would be the most valuable and easily exchangeable resource. Sun presses him, but Jiang avoids explaining too much. Instead, he suddenly hands her food. Sun reacts sharply, asking what he wants. Jiang calmly says he is not joking and asks if she wants him to take care of her meals. He explains the arrangement clearly. Breakfast, 3 meals a day, though lunch will usually be eaten outside. He hands her a can. Sun hesitates, staring at it closely. Sun recalls the wasteland, mentioning how she has seen people kill their own kind for food and has encountered cannibalistic bandits who try to turn her into dinner. She says Jiang is the first person she has met who worries about her going hungry. She takes the food and quietly asks what it is. Jiang explains it is breakfast and adds that eating in the morning gives more energy. Sun thanks him and says she will do her best to find the gold he is looking for, though finding it will be harder than expected. She explains that the EMP from the nuclear disaster destroyed most electronics in the city, turning vehicles into scrap and severely damaging advanced technology. Without professionals to repair them, finding a working vehicle is almost impossible. Jiang tells her to take it easy and focus on investigating the surroundings, assessing danger levels, and locating the gold. Sun reminds him that zombies become more dangerous after sunset and tells him to return before dark. Sun packs her gear, listing items like a flashlight, weapon, food, and protective suit. She leaves, telling Jiang she will see him later. Jiang suddenly asks to see her EP status. Sun pauses, then shows it. The display reveals her physical stats, far exceeding normal human limits. Jiang is visibly shocked, muttering that she might not even be human. After Sun leaves, Jiang says there is no time to waste and activates his ability, releasing green energy as he returns to his own world. Back home, he lies down, relieved, saying it feels much safer there. He checks the tattoo and realizes it is time to recharge. He gets up, decides charging through normal electricity takes too long, and goes out to borrow power from an electrical company. While charging, Jiang reacts with excitement, calling the process pure satisfaction. He suddenly hears noise and panics, realizing he cannot stay there. He runs off, saying he needs to find a solution to his charging problem before it attracts attention. Back home, he thinks about finding a warehouse that can support high current output and complains that it would be better if he had another power source to replace electricity. Jiang Chen wakes up at home and checks the bracelet on his wrist. A system prompt warns that once radiation exceeds a certain threshold, his health will be affected and recommends storing iodine in his body to control radiation levels. Jiang thinks for a moment and suggests iodine tincture as a solution, then immediately feels satisfied with himself. His stomach growls, and Jiang decides that no matter what kind of world he's dealing with, eating comes first. He declares that man is iron and food is steel, and that skipping meals is unacceptable. He cooks himself a proper meal, frying food in a pan, then proudly lays everything out: rice, dishes, and beer. He celebrates his cooking skills and jokes, that he did not pass the Oriental chef exam for nothing. While eating, Jiang starts thinking about gold again. He wonders how many kilos or even tons of gold a single meal like this could buy in the post-apocalyptic world. He jokes that even holding up a can of food in looting town would probably attract countless women. He quickly follows that thought by thanking fate that he does not live in such a dangerous place. His mood shifts. Jiang thinks that if a third war broke out in his own world, someone like him would probably die quietly in a random corner. He scolds himself for thinking nonsense, slaps his own face, and tells himself to focus on the present. After finishing his meal, Jiang prepares to leave. He checks his supplies, listing beer, food, and preparation as complete, and declares it's time to go. He activates his ability and lands back in the other world, but immediately notices something feels different. He realizes that not even half of his stored energy was consumed this time and suspects that his storage capacity might have increased, possibly growing with each recharge. He decides not to overthink it and moves on. Exploring the building, Jiang comes across equipment that looks like a power distribution cabinet. Unsure how to operate it, he hesitates, then activates it anyway. The machinery powers on with buzzing sounds, lights activate throughout the room, and multiple devices come online. Jiang looks around at the functioning high-tech equipment and smiles, commenting that this place really is high-tech after all. Jiang Chen relaxes inside the building and says that living here is actually not that bad. A sudden noise catches his attention, and he looks toward the window. Using binoculars, he spots Sun Jiao returning and notes that she came back quickly, meaning she probably found something. Outside, Sun approaches the building and vaults over the railing with ease. Jiang presses a button inside, and the metal gate opens. Sun jumps in, but the door suddenly closes again, making her realize it has been fixed. She loses balance and falls hard onto the ground, shouting angrily and accusing Jiang of trying to kill her. Jiang laughs awkwardly and insists it was an accident. Sun complains that clearing the bank was exhausting and says it took her 2 full batteries of ammunition to deal with all the zombies. She explains that the bank vault was sealed with thick steel and could not be opened, but she managed to retrieve gold bars from the VIP room. She tosses a heavy bag to Jiang. He catches it, immediately feels the weight, and nearly collapses, shocked that she carried all of that back by herself. Jiang throws her a can of cola. Sun catches it and drinks, clearly enjoying it. Jiang comments that she seems to like it a lot, and she agrees, noting that the refrigerator here still works and the drink is even cold. She casually says she will not ask where he got it from anyway. Sun asks what the next plan is. She explains that if they want to blow open the vault and move the gold, they will need either powerful explosives or highly skilled hackers to crack the electronic lock. Jiang questions where he is supposed to find explosives in a civilized society, and Sun answers that many survivor bases have them. She mentions looting town as an example. Jiang asks if it is far. Sun says it is not far but describes it as an interesting place, adding that it is expensive. She explains that, except for residents who have sold themselves as property or laborers, visitors must pay 1 energy unit of crystals or items of equal value to enter. Jiang asks what 1 energy unit of crystal means. Sun takes out a crystal and shows it to him, explaining that the piece has about 37 energy units left and that energy crystals are hard to obtain. She says only powerful mutants can crystallize them on the backs of their heads. She adds that, if possible, she would really prefer never to encounter those mutants again. Jiang Chen asks what exactly 1 energy unit of crystal is good for. Sun Jiao explains that 1 unit can be exchanged for about 1/10 of a box of canned meat or half a box of low-quality canned food. She adds that energy crystals can also be exchanged for nutrient solutions, C-type batteries, and other survival supplies, and that this type of energy source functions as currency in many survivor bases. Jiang notices the crystal glowing in his hand and realizes it also seems to recharge the tattoo on his wrist. Sun casually adds that with enough energy, people even use crystals to buy companionship in places like Looting Town. Jiang coughs awkwardly and quickly changes the subject, offering to trade all 37 energy units worth of food for the crystal. Sun immediately agrees and slams her hand on the table, calling it a deal. Sun then warns Jiang that although he has plenty of food, trading it like this puts him at a loss. She explains that while crystals are worth a lot, the actual value depends heavily on the type of food being traded. She describes the canned food in Looting Town as mostly mutant fish or meat mixed with sand, sometimes not even clearly edible. She takes out a can of chicken curry braised beef and says it is the first time in her life she has tasted something like this. She explains that mutant cows are used to transport goods and recalls eating beef from them before, saying that even the dried texture was enough to make her feel extremely satisfied. Jiang listens quietly, then says he believes her. internally. He reflects that this world is far more dangerous than he expected. He thinks about how weak he is, how easily someone could target his wealth, and how he could be buried unnoticed if things go wrong. Sun notices his silence and asks what's wrong. Jiang quickly reassures her that he believes everything she said and that he was only thinking about adjusting their deal structure based on local prices. He insists he will never go back on their agreement and says that while food is abundant where he comes from, it is as valuable as gold here. Sun reminds him that since he is her employer, she is also responsible for making sure he does not get tricked by people with bad intentions. She tells him that if he ever trades with others, he should bring her along. Jiang nods enthusiastically and agrees, saying the less trouble, the better. Sun suddenly tells him not to look at her like that, saying he is giving her goosebumps. Jiang panics, immediately apologizes, and agrees to behave. The atmosphere lightens. Jiang then notices the refrigerator and is shocked that it still works. Sun opens it proudly and says she told him it was functional. The fridge is full of fresh food, glowing under the light. Sun looks genuinely happy, eyes sparkling. Jiang declares that they have eaten enough canned food and that tonight they should eat something fresh. He celebrates loudly, calling it a celebration for his first employee. Sun looks flustered and confused as he drags her toward the kitchen. Jiang tells her to calm down and says they can talk while eating dinner. Sun hesitates and asks if he knows how to cook. Jiang confidently says yes. He pulls out tomatoes and eggs and announces the dish for tonight. Tomato fried eggs, Sun Jiao recalls her past, saying that even though people called their life inside the shelter poverty in the old days, she had her parents and her younger sister with her. Compared to the endless nuclear winter outside, life inside the shelter felt like paradise. She later learned that mercenary groups deliberately targeted newly opened and poorly defended shelters, exploiting the kindness of survivors, robbing their supplies and slaughtering people without mercy. After that incident, Sun grew up fast and became a qualified wasteland survivor. The scene shifts back to the present, where she suddenly moves too close while Jiang Chen is cooking. Jiang snaps at her to slow down, warning that she is about to chop through the cutting board. She asks when the last time he cooked was. Jiang replies seriously, saying every ingredient is the result of hard work and must be treated gently, and that cooking requires pouring heart and soul into every step. As the food sizzles in the pan, Sun watches quietly. When the dish is finished, she eagerly digs in. Jiang confidently declares that no one in the wasteland has ever eaten his so-called specialty before. Sun announces the name of the dish with disbelief. Tomato fried eggs. She keeps eating, clearly enjoying it, and admits she does not know how to describe what she is feeling. She says it is like Jiang came straight out of a fairy tale. Jiang repeats the words fairy tale in confusion, clearly not sure whether he should be flattered or worried. Sun Jiao talks about books that existed before the war, saying that inside the shelters they were called fairy tales. She explains that those stories describe people living happily, having families, friends, and even lovers, and asks how that is not a fairy tale compared to their current world. Jiang listens quietly and comments that this world is interesting, then says he will be right back. Jiang returns holding several cans of alcohol and says that back at his place, when people felt tired, they would drink together. He sets the cans down, and Sun hesitates before taking one. She drinks and immediately reacts, saying it does not taste as good as cola. Jiang drinks as well and laughs, saying at least it helps let everything out. They clink cans and cheer, declaring they will drink until they pass out. The drinking continues, both of them clearly getting drunk. Sun laughs loudly and starts ranting, calling the monsters Jiang mentioned earlier nothing special. Jiang, equally drunk, starts shouting about graduation, calling it a monster that devours students' youth, time, and money given by parents, then forces them into an unfamiliar battlefield called society. He rambles about dreams, hard work, and responsibility, completely lost in his drunken speech. Sun interrupts him, asking what buff means. Jiang tries to explain it badly, saying it is like a strengthening effect, then immediately loses track of his point and continues rambling about work, companies, livelihood, and bosses who torture people. Sun listens with a flushed face, clearly drunk, and suddenly snaps back, saying none of that matters. Sun stands up and confidently declares that with her physical stats, she knows exactly who would be torturing who. She tells Jiang to look at her EP and boasts about her strength. She complains that her EP will not open properly and slams her foot down in frustration, accidentally kicking Jiang hard. Jiang yells in pain, and Sun immediately insults him, saying that was her shoe and calling him an idiot. The argument escalates. Sun grabs Jiang and accuses him of stealing her things. Jiang struggles, both of them clearly uncoordinated from drinking. They grapple, stumble, and fall to the floor in a messy tangle. Jiang grins and says that today he will show her exactly who the boss is. Sun looks confused and startled as the situation abruptly flips. Sun Jiao and Jiang Chen end up tumbling onto the floor together, both clearly drunk and uncoordinated. Sun ends up on top and bluntly declares that she wants to be on top. Then Jiang can only stare confused and slightly panicked by how quickly the situation escalated. Sun suddenly locks eyes with a small yellow chicken creature nearby and demands to know what it wants. She grabs it without hesitation, laughing loudly, calling it cute, and squeezing it until it yelps in pain. The chicken struggles, furious, shouting for her to call it little, before its body suddenly bulks up and transforms into a massive, muscular form, roaring as energy surges around it. The transformed chicken declares that it has been truly angered and says it will show what it is really made of. Sun watches in shock, muttering that it is incredible. The scene abruptly cuts away with the message telling readers to use their imagination. Later, Jiang is shown collapsed in bed, breathing heavily. Jiang apologizes and says he will take responsibility. Sun laughs quietly and tells him not to say things like promising marriage or eternal protection, saying those lines only exist in old books from the past. Jiang says he is not easy to feed and admits he has many enemies. Sun replies that she is capable of feeding him and that she is not afraid. Jiang adds that he still has things he needs to do. Sun responds that she will help him and tells him to trust her. She leans in, and the two end up kissing. Sun looks down at him and asks what he is waiting for, calling him her man, and tells him to feed her now. The chicken reacts in horror, screaming for them to stop and clutching its head as the words "feed me now" echo repeatedly. The next day, the chicken is shown lying on the ground, barely moving. It mutters that it finally survived until dawn, then collapses completely. Jiang Chen struggles to keep up as Sun Jiao walks ahead, complaining that his legs are still wobbly from the intense exercise last night and asking her to slow down. Sun immediately shuts him down, telling him to stop whining and questioning whether he's even a man, then orders him to hurry up. Jiang grumbles that women will never understand how tiring things can be. Sun warns him to stay close, saying danger is everywhere. Jiang looks up at the dark sky and asks if it's about to rain, only for Sun to explain that those aren't clouds but radiation dust. Jiang panics, asking if that means they're being exposed with zero protection. Sun calmly reassures him that as long as there's iodine in his EP, radiation won't exceed the danger threshold, and jokes that he won't suddenly grow a third arm. She adds that in high radiation areas like nuclear reactors or old government buildings, wearing protective gear is still a good idea. Jiang complains that he wouldn't even be out here if it weren't for her idea. Sun reminds him that since he promised to help her, he needs to learn basic combat. She orders him to follow her tomorrow and at least learn how to fire a gun to protect himself. Jiang tries to suggest being backup instead, but Sun cuts him off, saying they're heading to the survival camp on 6th Street, and that he's not even vaccinated, which is just asking for trouble. Suddenly, Sun stops him and tells him to wait. She points ahead, warning that they'll be passing through a zombie-infested area. Jiang freaks out, shouting about zombies, while Sun calmly tells him that the battlefield is the best place to improve shooting skills and instructs him to hold on to his weapon. She introduces the SK-10 Sirius laser rifle, explaining it's ideal for dealing with zombies due to low noise and high accuracy. However, she says beginners should start with kinetic weapons. She then introduces the PK-200 assault rifle, explaining its caliber, power, reliability, and safety mechanism, telling him exactly where the safety is and reminding him not to fire unless necessary. As they move forward, Jiang nervously asks whether the mutants around them will attack. Sun assures him they'll be fine, explaining that not all creatures are aggressive. She points out that even giant rats are still instinctively afraid of humans. She adds that cockroaches may look scary, but due to their feeding habits, they won't attack living people. Sun explains that zombies stop most activity during the day because the mutant cells on the backs of their heads need stable conditions for photosynthesis. What they really need to watch out for are carnivorous mutants, which feed on zombies and other weaker creatures but won't hesitate to attack humans. She finishes with a final rule. If a human aims at your head, don't hesitate. Fire immediately. Jiang silently reflects that this world is far too dangerous and that even surviving here isn't easy. As he's lost in thought, Sun suddenly elbows him sharply in the chest and tells him to keep quiet. Sun Jiao suddenly tells Jiang to stay quiet. She notices that all nearby mutants have disappeared and says that usually means something stronger has entered the area. Jiang asks what kind of thing, and Sun answers that it is likely a carnivorous mutant. Jiang nervously asks if she has heard of something called a death claw. Before she can fully answer, an explosion erupts nearby. Jiang turns toward the blast in shock as Sun immediately starts moving. She grabs her weapon, tells him there is a battle ahead, and orders him to follow her. Jiang shouts that they might be running the wrong way, but soon ignores him and keeps charging forward. They arrive at a chaotic battlefield where armed survivors are desperately fighting. The soldiers shout orders to keep firing and throw explosives as they struggle to hold their line. One man screams that he is out of ammo while another yells for everyone to focus their fire. A massive mutant appears, roaring as explosions strike its body. It is enormous, bloated, and covered in writhing flesh, shrugging off gunfire while charging forward. Soldiers are knocked back violently, coughing blood as the creature advances. Sun and Jiang watch from cover. Jiang blurts out that it looks like a mountain of meat. Sun stares at the monster, confused and tense, questioning why something like this would appear here. The Deathclaw roars again as a missile is launched toward it. The projectile slams into the creature, triggering a massive explosion that engulfs its upper body. Smoke, fire, and debris fill the area as the mutant staggers, roaring in pain, but still not completely down.
Hit subscribe if you liked that. Trust me, this is just the beginning.